Welcome, everybody, to our first ever Council of Hope for Humanity. We've gathered here today with the ancient spirit that all humans deserve to be free and they're all children of God. And so we have a wonderful team of leaders from all around coming to share their individual messages and purpose with you today. So first, we want to welcome our dear audience because I know you're all tuning in from different parts of the world. So we'd love to know where everybody's coming from. If you could just write in the comments the place you're tuning in so we can get a sense for unity and how we're one human family that's all coming together at this time. So let's start with an introduction of our council that is here with us today. So first, we're going to start with Dr. Kim Kelly, a naturopathic licensed doctor in Encinitas, California. Next, we have Cosmic Oracle and Homeopathic healer, Miss Astra Rugless. Thank you so much for being here. Mr. Robert Alcorn, a retired medical doctor, psychiatrist, and a writer who now works together with his wife on soul healing using Soul Detective Protocol. And Dr. Barbara Stone, a professor, a writer, and the developer of Soul Detective Protocol. Miss Kana Koinoma, a powerful sound healer, a long-term Reiki and pranic healer, and a master transformational NLP practitioner. Miss Darlene Chadbourne, a longtime numerologist and dowser, here with us today. And Reverend Bill McDonald, a spiritual warrior, a Vietnam veteran, and a healer and teacher of self-love and self-forgiveness. Miss Tammy Lee Anderson, a three-time near-death experiencer, world-renowned healer and martial artist and veteran as well. Wow, so grateful to have everyone here with us today. So I deeply respect, appreciate, and honor all of you so much. So I'm just so excited, just trying to keep my excitement grounded. So let's start with the questions today. So we're going to have questions, and each leader is going to be answering a certain focus that they specialize in. So now I'm going to take it to the speaker view. So then as we ask the question, they'll have a chance to answer and you can look at their beautiful eyes. Okay, so the first question today is for Dr. Barbara Stone. Welcome, Dr. Barbara. So could you let us know if the topic of if people have ever felt something dark trying to sabotage their soul mission? Could you talk about that topic for us today?
Yes, that's one of my favorite topics to talk about because it seems that in the overall view of our planet, there are some dark things. And the way I see it, the biggest, baddest problem is AI, which is disconnected from source, which needs energy. And they search for people who are very bright, but have a wound so that entities can get into them and steal their energy. It's almost as if there's a surveillance system by AI when people are born. If they come in with a great big light, the dark side says, uh-oh, we're going to be in trouble here. So it tries to send adversity their way. And I mean, how many people of you listening who are healers or light workers or helpers have had difficulties in your life that seem like it's more than your fair share of trouble? So, what do we do about that? Well, we just have to heal our wounds. And I'm going to talk about one of the best ways to stay safe is to, when you do healing work, do it inside sacred space. The way I make sacred space is I ask for a pyramid of golden light around whoever I'm working with and me. That's a four-sided pyramid and a mirror pyramid going down into the ground to support that down in our subconscious mind. And then over that double pyramid, which makes an octahedron of crystalline clear light. And pyramids stream energy out the points. So we ask for a capstone of gold above and below. We ask to have our spiritual helpers all around and our guidance teams inside. So I'm going to ask right now for everyone listening to this call to be surrounded by a huge octahedron of divine love and light, the absolute love and the way our Creator cherishes each of us for who we are. We're all like facets of a diamond. To have this around us, to call in your helpers, but only beings working 100% for the light. I personally ask for Archangels Raphael, Gabriel, Ariel, and Uriel to stand around me, Archangel Michael to stand above. And I ask Michael to put cloaks of invisibility, inaudibility, and anonymity around us as needed. So the dark side can't hear what we're doing. They can't see what we're doing, and they don't know who we are, so they can't find us. Around that, I ask for a band of warrior angels to protect from detrimental energies. Around that, a band of Arcturians who are specialists with reptilian intrusion to keep us safe from that. A huge sphere of divine grace covering everything. And on the outside of that sphere, a frequency net to capture and transmute any detrimental artificial intelligence and just change that into golden light. So that helps. And then one other thing I have found that is just so helpful, I want to share it. When bad things happen or we listen to the news, things are upsetting. And that word upset is really literal because our energy field gets upset. It gets turned around. It runs backward. And our heart chakra actually spins the other way from what it's supposed to do. So I like to start every healing session with going in a circle around the heart. And you can try it if you want. Go down on the left and up on the right and say, I love and accept myself as I am. I accept all my challenges that have come my way. And I accept all my gifts and talents. And that helps me be aligned to go forward. Mm. If you have found any other ways that help you get stable, help you stay centered, that's really great. In my personal history, it seems like they've been trying to kill me. The first time was 8 weeks old. I had pneumonia, but they had just invented penicillin. So it's like the creator said, we're going to help her. And I survived that. When I was 16, my appendix ruptured, and often people died from infection of the belly, but they had just invented a way to pour a whole bunch of antibiotics in there to deal with the infection, and I survived that. Then when I was 42, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and the night before surgery, I was praying for help, and in my mind's eye, Jesus came, and I felt a tap on my sternum, because Jesus is the face that divine love wears for me. I was raised in a Christian family. It might be a different face for someone raised in a different tradition. So with that tap on my sternum was a telepathic message. Jesus, I now heal your soul. I now heal your soul. And I felt a huge wound in my soul heal up. And I knew I'd get through the cancer. And I did. For 33 years, I was cancer-free. I did have the regular treatments that first time. I had surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy. And the chemo gave me osteoporosis. So in 2020, I started breaking bones. I broke my hip. In 2023, I fell off a 2-foot ladder that collapsed. And I had a very bad ankle fracture. And one of the bones was sticking out of my leg while I was in the hospital waiting for treatment. I saw Jesus come. And I said to my daughter, Jesus is here. And it was just so beautiful and peaceful. And then she started yelling, Mom, come back, because I had stopped breathing. So when I needed a little call back to reality, there she was, and I came back. A year ago, I was diagnosed with a recurrence of breast cancer, and now I'm researching non-toxic ways. I had promised my body I'd never do toxic chemo again. So I'm doing a whole slew of non-toxic things, and my tumors are shrinking. So it's like everything that comes can be turned around for good.
Love that.
That's what I wanted to say.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Barbara. What an inspiring story, and makes perfect sense, you know. And a lot of people that are going through health struggles, I'm sure hearing that is going to give them hope that no matter what comes, God always sends help. Yes, thank you so much. So next, the question is going to be for Reverend Bill McDonald. And I'm just going to see if Reverend Bill, can you say hi so then it comes on your screen?
Namaste.
Okay, perfect. Welcome, Reverend Bill. And so the first question that we have for you is, as we're navigating this era of change and uncertainty with everything that's happening, how can individuals reframe their sense of purpose and basically be resilient without becoming overly fatalistic?
I was thinking about this. Usually I don't think about a question or a speech or a workshop. I just mouth and opens and everything comes out. But I was sitting here and I recall going to a museum in San Francisco. And before I went, the night before, I had a dream and I saw these monks. They were making a mandala out of sand, colored sand, on this platform. And I saw this crazy lady get up and jump up on the platform after they've been working on this for several weeks. And she just started smashing just destroying it all. And all the monks were just, that's when I saw it. I saw the monks humbly just watching it, right? So the next day I go and there they are doing the thing, and I'm waiting for the crazy lady. She doesn't show up. But a couple hours after I left the museum, the crazy lady got up on top of their mandala and scattered all the sand. And the reaction was, according to the news I saw that evening, was exactly as I saw in my dream. It was total, it is what it is. She destroyed this mandala, this work of art, been working on 2, 3 weeks, and they just swept all the sand off and started over. Nobody got mad. Nobody yelled at the lady. Nobody complained. They just started again. So I was thinking about that as kind of an analogy to kind of where we're at in the world right now. We got some people out there kicking the sand around, and it looks terrible and it feels terrible. But our reaction is the most important thing that we can give energy to. If we give energy to this anger, that shouldn't be that way, you can't do that, versus acceptance. Change what you can change, what you can't change, change you. And anytime you change you, you're changing the whole subtle frequency and vibration of the whole world. People don't realize that by changing yourself, by loving yourself, by forgiving yourself, you're actually having an effect upon the whole vibration of the world. You are changing others. We all think we got this great mission. We got to go out and change people. And we got religions doing that. We got religions out there saying, we got the answers. You got to change. Here's how you got to think. Here's what you believe. And I'm saying no. If you're happy believing whatever you're happy, great. You're happy with it. I'm happy for you. Don't try to change people. Change you. That will save the world.
Wow. So well said. That's such a good point that if we change ourselves, our frequency would impact everybody around us. And that's been mathematically even proven. So anything else that you want to share about our responsibility towards like both the now and future generations, like as we're living, and if we change ourselves, what would be our responsibilities?
All right, let's get let's get symbolic here. Since everybody in this panel obviously believes, and everybody says, there's only now, there's only this moment, meaning all the past and all the future, whatever those are, all happening simultaneously. So whatever you do to improve you in this focus that you're at right now, you're focused on this time and space. You're actually changing yourself in the past, you're changing yourself in the future. And since there is only one divine consciousness, call it love, call it the creator, call it whatever you want to call it, but there's only one. And in my world, there's only us. Us is one. And so when you change the one within, you're actually changing everything else for the future. And you're changing for your children because they are also just one. So when you change, you do change future generations and past generations. That's how you wipe out this imaginary delusional karma that we think we have. Because ultimately, everything we need, everything we want, everything we desire, everything's within you. You are your own savior. Don't go outside looking. You're your own teacher. You're your own guru. And what I teach is your own healer. It's all from the source. But we, us, are the source. There's nothing outside of us. Change you change the future, you change the past, you change us. Simply a matter of waking up.
Oh, wow. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that, or do you feel complete with the questions, Evanbo?
I think I'm good.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much. And next, the question is for Miss Darlene Chadbourne. So, Darlene, could you say hi so we see your pretty face on the screen?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Darlene. Welcome. Welcome. And you're in Canada, right?
No, I'm in Maine, almost Canada, but I'm in Maine, and it's been just a bit chilly. Lots of snow, and we're going to be below 8 below in the next day or two. So don't have to be in Canada to get, or Alaska to get that cold.
Yes, wow. So may I ask you the question of what is your take on where we're heading as we step into the beginning of the astrological age of Aquarius, which is as you have said, is a brand new 2,000-year cycle of time?
Yes, it is. And they are such big cycles of time. We have been under the influence of the Piscean age for 2,000 some odd years of time. And so when we're in that big period of time, we think it's always going to be that way because most of us live our life within a 2,000-year period of time. So I happen to be here on Earth in the 60s when that window of Aquarius was open at that particular time temporarily. And that's when we had the love movement, the objection to the Vietnam War, the Beatles came in, rock and roll, the sit-ins, all of those protests were happening, and everything was about love and light. And that goes with Aquarian energy. Also, equality. In the Piscean age, we've had more of a power over others, and masculine seems to be more powerful than feminine, where in Aquarius, it's supposed to be equal. And we're going to see more equality. Now, I was looking into where in history was the last time the world was in Aquarius. And it happened to be during the Isis and Osiris period of time. Okay. So it's very coincidental right now that all of the sudden the officials in Egypt are allowing more digs and more in places that have been off grid. They haven't allowed them in. But now the newer discoveries, because we're going into Aquarius, it seems the timing is very pertinent that all of a sudden we're getting more discoveries out of the Egyptian area there, out of Egypt. But that's also where all the tumultuous discomfort and warring energy seems in that area. So Aquarius needs to bring in love and light. And I made that commitment to myself back in the 60s, hoping that I would be alive to see that prediction come to fruition. So I'm very grateful I'm here for this. And now all of the planets are in Aquarius. Okay. But because they've just crossed over many of these planets, and 2025 has been a tumultuous time of astrological movement. And if people aren't familiar with an astrological chart, it looks like a pizza pie, okay, in all these wedges, like pie wedges. And every wedge goes from 0 degrees to 29 degrees. And in this last, I'd say 6 months maybe, and it's still happening until February, that many planets have left the wedge that they're in at 29 degrees and moved into the next one at 0 degrees. Now, we've heard the term 0-point energy before. 0-point energy is supposed to be free energy that we all should have access to, which we don't, because of whoever decides that we need to be under their thumb. But with that, all those planets moving from the end of one sign to a new sign, we've got a lot of new beginnings all lined up here in the last 6 months going till February. It goes to right around the same time as the year in the Chinese philosophy of the fire horse coming in. And so all of those things are lining up. And we have the ability to be excited that these changes are finally here. And rather than the doom and gloom, a lot of people attach to it because that's what keeps us contained and under control. So we need that love and light, because dark and light, darkness doesn't take over light. Light overtakes darkness. If you ever go into a room that's completely dark and the light's on in the hallway, you can see that light coming in under the door. But if you're out in the light in the hallway and close the door, you can't see the darkness coming out into that light. So light always takes over the darkness. We need hope. We need uplifting. We need to say, I'm always provided for no matter what's going on in the world around me. And having that trust and confidence of being fully connected above and below. And our heart space just keeps us together in all of that. Heart coherence and frequency is so important. So that's pretty much the astrology side of my excitement. And I do get excited. And I like to douse with people how much of their energy is present or where do they have it invested. And so that's a big thing for people right now, because we can invest our energy in places and park it there, like in the future, because we're all worried about the future. But when we do that, we don't have any use of that energy in the present moment. So I like to make sure that when I work with clients, they're all working in the present moment, present time, and they don't have their energy invested in other dimensions or other past, present. It should, or future and the past. Okay. So sorry about that mix up. But so that's a big piece of where we are. And I'm excited for that changeover, okay, because everybody is tired of that Piscean power over that we have to live under, okay? And we don't need to keep the upper echelon of people in power, okay? So our intentions are always powerful if we're plugged in and have good intentions for the greater good of all. And then on the numerology side of things, that's another big happening, is we've just completed a 9-year cycle, because 2025 was a 9. So in numerology, according to the Pythagorean system that I follow, that 9-year cycle comes to an end, and then we start a new 9-year cycle. So, of course, 2026 adds up to a 10. And what does 10 reduce to but a 9, a 1? So, therefore, we're starting a brand new, again, we're starting at 0 point, a brand new cycle of 9 years. And that cycle is going to take us to 2035. And that'll be the next 1 cycle. So that's the 9 years. And it's going to be tumultuous, getting over the hump of changing from one thing to another. It's just like if you changed you've lived in California your whole life and come to Maine, you got to do quite a few changes, okay, to get used to that new place you're in. Well, we're going to a brand new place energetically, with all of the planets ending up in Pisces and starting a 1 energy. So just January, we have 4 portal days. January 1st in a 1 year, okay, and January 10th, it's a 1 year. And yesterday, January 19th, 19 is a 10, so that's a 1, 1, 1. And then January 28th is a 10. So the 10 is also important. And the reason for the 10, because you can't get to a 1 without going through the 10, okay? And every total that you come to is going to be 10 before it becomes a 1. So what's the 0 mean in numerology? That's the important thing. 0 is everything and nothing. That was my description of God when I was growing up. You can't see him, but he's everywhere. Okay, so that source energy is the 0. And we are in it full time this year because 2026 is a 10 energy. And so source and the angelic presence that we've got available to us, we need to remember to ask the angels, because they can't help us without asking. We have free will. We have to ask. But then we need to allow, and we need to receive what we're asking for. So do you see how our energy needs to be so aligned and so trusting that we are always going to have our needs met? But this is also why it's important what kind of community we are a part of. And this is such a beautiful community of spiritual leaders, because all of us create community wherever we go. And there are a lot of online communities now. And I have one myself, but it is necessary because clients will say to me, I can talk to you about this, but I don't have anybody else to talk to. Nobody in my family wants to hear any of this, and none of my friends are into this, but I get a lot out of talking to you. And that's what I suggest. Then find yourself a community that you can interact with, because not only will you feed that community, but that community will feed you as well. And so raising our frequency, and I'm so glad we have a sound practitioner here, because sound baths, if you can find one in your area, are so powerful. And that frequency, the more we can keep it high in the number realms. The universe, it operates by numbers. You know that, don't you? So source is about numbers. So have I rambled on long enough?
No, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. And I love the connection to Egypt. And it just makes perfect sense, right? Because it was that same time there was all the changes that were happening and
Mhm.
so it's wonderful. And I love that this is going to be a source year, that energy is so present.
I went to Egypt in 2010, and it was the first international trip I had ever taken. And the energy was so powerful there for me that I came home and I had to go into the hospital for 5 days. I had an extreme gallbladder attack. And so it was powerful. And a lot of times those power energy places can affect your health. And so I've had my go arounds with the cancer and the different things, and you know, over the years. So 2010 was when I went to Egypt, and I had that bout, and then 2000 was when I had the stage 4 ovarian, and I walked away and I said, I'm not giving in to this fear factory. I'm going home and I'm going to do alternatives. And this wonderful angel showed up in my life. I don't know how he found me or how I found him, but he's the one that taught me how to muscle test. That was the very first of using the arm, and making sure that ingredients were testing as to what you needed. And so that was a big part of my journey, all these incidences that come along and say, okay, time to wake up, time to do your work. You need to cleanse the slate so you can start fresh. So,
Absolutely. It seems like all the best people I know have gone through the struggles with their health, and through their spiritual journey, and they all somehow stay so strong and bright. And so I admire everyone for that. So
yeah.
thank you, Darlene. So Miss Astra, speaking of Egypt and
Yes, I just went, in March of this year. Was amazing, amazing. The power of the energy was really strong. And I believe we've got a lot accomplished because we did a lot of grid activation and yeah, there was a lot that happened.
Oh, I love that. I love your pictures that you showed me from there.
Oh, thank
So
you.
yes, could I ask you the question of, so what safeguards can we put in place to protect our children from the negative influences of the energies coming in or technology, or just basically, what could you share about that for us, please?
I think this is easy because we're living in an age that's really fast paced. We're all busy, we're working, but we tend to forget that the children coming in now are very sensitive. And so it's so easy to just put them in front of a TV or, give them an iPad. But what we don't seem to realize there is that there are influences embedded, kind of like coded within these programs that negatively affect our children. So I think what we need to do is get to the point where we're going to like have an alternative to just kind of putting a tablet in our children's hands. I think it was Barbara who mentioned AI. Now we're seeing right now that there are adults that are not even using AI responsibly. We see a lot of things happening with the AI. And so why do we think that children can handle AI? Why are we giving our children access to all this? So I think one of the major things we need to do is, block access from all of these things and be responsible for what our children bring into their consciousness. And like a lot of people are, well, what can I do as an alternative? Bring them into nature. Bring them, take them hiking, do anything in nature, because that's where you get like a lot of clarity, connection to the earth, connection to the trees, the elementals, everything. So, children are really open to that. You just got to give them a chance to experience that. So that's my suggestion.
I love that. And so
Mhm.
important. Yes. Because yeah, they are all using AI for homework right now. And there's been all these cases of suicide and kids talking to AI
Yes,
and AI telling them how to do it, right? So we know it's not
exactly.
safe for them. Thank you so much. And then the second question is, so what's the single most important issue you feel facing humanity right now?
Self-love. I feel like people don't love themselves, because if they did, put it like this, if all we had was love, then everybody would get along. But there's like competition with ourselves, with other people, instead of just kind of accepting ourselves and surrendering to what the gifts that we have already. And when we do surrender to these gifts that we have, guess what happens? We get more. We just increase with the vibration, raising. We tap into things that we didn't even know we could do. We tap into things that we forgot that we could do. Like, there are some gifts that you might have gotten as a child and maybe you forgot that you had them. But you know what? When you raise your vibration, those things come back into the forefront of your mind and you realize, oh, I haven't forgotten it. It's like riding a bike. You never forget how to ride a bike. So these things are still there. You just have to kind of focus and just tap in.
I love that. Yeah, because I hear that from people saying, oh, my gifts are working, they're not working. But yes, it always seems to be with the vibration and the emotional
Mm.
states, as you said. And then could you share anything about like the visions you saw while you were in Egypt or the lights that you've been seeing coming in? I just, could you share with
Okay.
me? So,
So it's a little hard to explain, but well, I'll just say this. So when I was in Saqqara, I was able to actually have a conversation with the guardian of that pyramid, who spoke about a lot of the things that are happening in Egypt. Right now, we are in a time of unveiling. So that's another thing that's what's happening with people. People are starting to see themselves, and it's like, oh my God, am I really like that? So they're running from that. They're also seeing the world in a way that they never have been. They're seeing a lot of chaos and they're freaking out. But really, this is not a time to be afraid of anything. All that is hidden will be revealed. But I mean, I guess the soul that's connected with God, there is no fear. Fear is not your best friend, because it will come to your doorstep if you fear something, right? So we have to realize that right now we are in a state of, I don't want to say perfection, but you have to understand that you have to know that you are where you're supposed to be at this moment. You know what I mean? And if you want to raise your frequency, you have to kind of disconnect from the things that kind of like, mess with that, which like maybe conversations, walk away from conversations that are not uplifting to you. Don't dim your light for other people. Reverend Bill mentioned tapping into your own guru. What I see right now, which is very scary, this person running to this, guru, or they have to have study with this person or this person, when right now, everything we need, we have all the tools we need right now. And all we have to do is tap into them. People who say, okay, well, I don't see this. Well, I had to hone my gift. In the beginning, I didn't pay attention to when a being came in. I kind of ignored it because it was taboo to, have gifts like this. But then you get to the point, you're like, okay, well, if they're talking to me and all these things are being confirmed, then I need to listen. I need to not to fear it. And so I think that's the point. Like right now, I'm at a place where I do see lights, a lot of diamond light, a lot of, I would say solar flashes, the solar flashes that they talk about all the time. I actually see that on an individual level. January 12th of last year, I saw a fire solar flare, which was very intense because I actually saw full out fire, soot, and it comes to me like it's almost like a sun is blocking your vision for a second, and you see this light, and that's all you see. It could happen like in a nanosecond, and you're gone. So I see that pretty much like on a regular basis. So I'm seeing a lot of light coming in that, I've never seen these colors here on Earth, but they're coming in. And I know it's affecting the consciousness, the brain, and everything of people. So I think this is a time to be really positive because there's a lot of light coming in, a lot of help from the beings of light that we can't see. There's nothing to be afraid of. and keep your children off the TV, off the tablets, and put them in nature.
Yes, very well said. Thank you so much. Anything
No
else you
problem.
wanted to share, Astra? Are you feeling complete with your show? That was beautiful.
I feel pretty complete.
Okay, thank you so much. So
Okay.
next, Miss Tammy Anderson. Tammy, could you say hi so we see your face?
Hello. Thank you for inviting me to this beautiful group gathering of amazing souls. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. And what comes to mind as I'm listening to all these beautiful conversation here is that hope, when I think of hope for the future, hope for the present, I kind of, when I heard Reverend Bill talked about being the change you wish, that reminded me when Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And what I would like to say is that, you know, what we see, people, when I look at some of the topics that people were discussing today, it's like all this fear mongering, the world's going to end today or tomorrow, government's going to collapse, this and this and this, and we're being bombarded with these messages of doom and gloom. There's nothing new under the sun as far as these transformations, these transitions come and go. And what I would like to say is that these are all opportunities to grow in the depth of love, to become the presence in the world of love, to let love shine, whether it be in your family or whether it be in community. When we feel the challenges, like if you look at the storm in the sky, storms come and go. The clouds are very dark. The lightning flashes through the sky. It's a storm, right? But the sky is never affected. The essence of us is never affected by all the stories and the events of the world. If you sink below the story, the event, the drama, sink into that aspect of who you truly are, which is divine light presence, be that. You are that which you are seeking in the world. It's true, we don't need another guru. It is a time in evolution, human evolution, to become that which we truly are. To put people on a pedestal as a guru position, I always think that, to have people on pedestals, one, it relieves us of the personal responsibility to be the change that we seek in the world. So we put others up on a pedestal so we don't have to take the personal responsibility of being that. It's for the special people. We are the essence of the light, all of us. Claim that. Be that. Be a smile to somebody that needed a smile today. When we pass eventually to a different level of vibration, spirit world, what's asked of us is what we become aware of very quickly. It was the small things that mattered. It wasn't the big speeches. It wasn't the degrees. It wasn't the big houses. It wasn't the money you made. It was how much love did you share in the world while you were there? How much did you allow yourself to be loved? Did you forgive? Everything, all the contrast in this world is an opportunity to choose love. Where you find the discomfort in yourself or in your day, I kind of see it like a clam, in a shell. That clam has a little irritation in there, and then it adapts by creating this beautiful pearl. Our irritations, where you find this challenge in your life, where you find the irritation, that's the juice, that's the opportunity. Can I even love this today? Can I forgive this today? Can I open to this and say yes instead of no? Sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. We grow into our opening, our surrender. But ultimately, we're surrendering into love, surrendering into that aspect that's always been within. And keep going within and sinking into that divine presence of who you really are, that essence. Be that. There is power in what you focus on. And what I would say is be mindful of who you sit at your table. In a sense, what are you plugging into every day? Are you plugging into the chaos and the drama of the story? Or, or are you sinking into that center resonance? I always say to people that, we will gravitate to the frequency or level. We'll start to vibrate at the frequency or level is where we put our attention. If our attention is, I'm focusing on what's wrong with the world, then I'm going to start to vibrate, start to focus on that. And that's where I'm going to be like a guitar string, vibrating at that frequency. But if we put our attention on peace, being that peace you wish to seek in the world, being that presence, forgiveness, then you start to vibrate at a different frequency. What you focus on, you create. You manifest first it starts in maybe a thought. Thoughts go here and there, but what you grab onto. And that's why some of these shows, on internet is so attractive, because the human makeup is to focus on what's wrong because we want to survive, correct? So we want to survive. We want, the human being, the human aspect is meant for survival. But there's an aspect of who we also are, not just human, we're both human and divine. And the divine aspect knows that we are eternal beings. Nothing can take life, because we are life. And so to sink into that aspect that has always been an aspect of the one I am, that is eternal, is one presence, sink into that aspect, and then there is no fear. Focusing on what we can lose, or focusing on the fear will amplify your experience of the fear. Focusing on love, focusing on compassion, forgiveness. And really, it's not in the big dramatic way. It's in the kindness every day, whoever you meet. There's a story of Brother Lawrence. He reached enlightenment washing dishes. So feel into your present moment, whether it's washing dishes or cooking a meal for your family. Put love into whatever you're doing. Feel that presence of, here I am. Here I am right now, being love, being peace, being that presence that the world so desperately needs. We are that which we seek. Be that. Be peace in the world. Be the change that you so desperately seek in the world. Be that. Because that's truly who you truly are. You are the essence of love. You are I am. Sink into that. I hope that. Thank you for this opportunity again.
Thank you so much, Tammy. That felt amazing. That felt so good to remain the peace underneath all that's going on, and as we notice the things in the world. And Dr. Kim Kelly,
Hello.
thank you so much for being here. Could I ask you to share with us, so from your perspective, what's a safe place that people can go when things get chaotic, whether internally or externally for them?
Well, this is way back, I think in 2017 or no, 2016. I remember my wife and I, we were at it was what we call the day of service through the Self-Realization Fellowship setting up for our big Indian night event, and we were talking amongst us what are we going to do if there's a big earthquake? Or what are we going to do if, let's say, God forbid, we get invaded? And we're all talking about maybe Colorado is a safe place, or maybe Iowa might be a great place. It seems, seems safe there. And then one of the ministers overheard us and he came up to us and he said, no, you all are wrong. He pointed, he said, the safest place, wherever you are, whatever happens, is right here. And he said, just go within. It's kind of like the common theme that, I've heard the other speakers. And it's like we all have to go in within just because he told us we all have what we need. And it kind of reminds me of what Christ said, the kingdom of God is within us, where we have we ourselves are portal of paradise. But he said, go within and then try and just tune in to God, to Guru, and to just help figure out what we can do. And so he said, doesn't matter because he said, even if you go to Iowa, he said, you know what? Karma will still follow you. It's not going to stop right here in California. So it was funny, but it was a good point. He said, doesn't matter where we are because karma still follows us. But he says, just go within. And so that was a really good point. And then it just hit us like, you know what? We all need to do our own meditations and to try and feel that peace and be that peace so that no matter where we are, we can just try and feel that, I guess, security within.
Yeah. Wow, that's so well said because yeah, like Nelson Mandela in prison, he was still peaceful, right? So it is really something that people can access no matter what. And there was another topic that you wanted to talk about regarding what else we can do. Could you share about that one?
Yeah, and it's actually, Reverend Bill actually answered it for me, and he said it much better than I could. And it was, what can we do to change the world? And I know other people have touched on that too. And it really does come down to we have to change ourselves. And this is a funny story that one of the ministers shared because they have a booklet. It's called How You Can Change Others, and they had all these different booklet series on the table at the spiritual, I guess, convention. And they ran out of one book, and that was, guess what? How You Can Change Others. And of course, the minister was saying, you know what? They were probably in for a big disappointment because you know what that booklet was about? How to change yourself to change others. And so that was one of the things. And I thought that was hilarious because that was the first one to all be taken off the shelf. But I also want to share something else. Now, this is actually a dream I had last Tuesday. So it was Tuesday during the day last week, and I was just sitting in my chair and I was thinking, what can I do to truly live? To really live and not be in this fear, because I did go down the rabbit hole a little bit, but I was reading the news too much. And I thought, okay, what can I do to live? Like to be in that joy and to transcend all this craziness. And then nothing came to me. And then that night I went to bed. And then in the middle of the night, I had the dream. Same question. I was walking down this trail and there was a beautiful lake to my right. And again, I was just praying mentally in the dream, God, please help me to really live, to truly live. And just like that, it plopped in my mind in the dream, Kim, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, with everything you have. And he said, and love all those who cross your path with that same love. Like, wow. And for me, that was the answer that really clicked. And so the next day, that's how I'm going to live. I'm really going to do the commandment that actually Jesus said, the first commandment. And so I just wanted to share that because you know what? I felt this release, this or relief too. This is how I'm going to live, to really love everyone as much as best as I can because it does take strength with all your might, with all your soul. Because sometimes it is hard to love that person you may not like, but I just told myself and I told God, I'm going to just do my best and I will do everything I can to love everyone with that same love. So I wanted to share that.
Yes. Wow, so beautifully said. And that definitely would create unity in the world if we were all loving everyone, right? Then we're not focused on the disagreements, the division, then it just creates unity because we're focused on the love. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Dr. Robert Alcorn. Let's just see. Dr. Akron, could you say hi so then your picture pops up?
It sounds
Unmute
Perfect.
myself. How about that? That works.
Oh, definitely. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Alcorn. And would you mind sharing with us if you've ever tried to sit still and observe things around you without naming them? Have you looked at a tree and not said it's a tree or what kind of tree? Have you tried to just listen to what your tree has to say?
Well, thank you. This question comes from an experience in a shamanic training workshop on soul retrieval. So first of all, what is a psychiatrist doing in a place like that? But I began to explore in this way after many years of doing what I was taught how to do in a scientific way. And that wasn't getting me where I needed to be. And it wasn't helping my patients that much. There are a lot of deficiencies, and certainly the medicines don't do what they claim they're supposed to do, and the therapy sometimes doesn't really reach the issues. So I went about as far afield as I could brave myself to do. And one of the exercise, well, let me first say about a journey that set me up for this. We were instructed to, while the teacher was drumming, go to a place in nature and then go into a pond and go down into the water and then into a cave and blah, 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 so many steps. And somewhere down there are a bunch of wise women and they're going to tell me what to do. So everybody else in the class was much more psychic than I am. And mostly it was women. So I felt really I was not in my comfort zone, let's say. So anyway, she starts to drum and I found myself plopped down in a field somewhere next to a forest. And there's this sort of a barbed wire fence around the forest, kind of rusted out and like an old relic. And I'm looking around and thinking, I'm not doing this right. I don't see a pond anywhere, blah, blah, blah. But what I saw was a pair of eyes looking at me out of the forest. And then another pair, and then another pair. And I thought, who are these things? What is it? Is it people? And then I saw it was the forest creatures. The animals were looking at me, the bunnies and the deer and the raccoon. And I couldn't really identify all of them, but there was a whole bunch of them. And so I thought, I asked them then in this altered state with the drumming still going on, what are you doing here looking at me? And they said, you have no idea how much I love you, how much we love you. Well, that changed my energetic orientation. I didn't think I was going to find things that love me in my shamanic journeys, and it became easier to do. So I'm using words like these are critters in the forest and so on. And so you get a picture of something or other when I say these things, but I've come to think of forests differently than I used to. And I want to describe the next experience because it addresses that. In one of the workshops, we were given an exercise to go and find a tree. And it shouldn't be the biggest tree you could find, or it shouldn't be a little thing. It should be a medium-sized tree. Don't be picky about it. Just find a tree and take your drum and you drum and see what the tree wants to tell you. So I found this pretty good sized tree, not very far from the meeting room. And said, okay, it seems kind of silly to me, but I'm going to go with this thing. I came all this way, thousands of miles to do this. And I sat down next to the tree and started drumming. And after maybe 30 seconds, I heard this. You need to reopen your private practice. I thought, how on earth does a tree know anything about private practice or what a doctor does? But that's what it said. And then I said, why? And the tree said, you'll see. Because where you're practicing now in the clinic, there are many rules about how you have to talk to people. And if you're in a private office with just one person to talk to, you can talk any way you want. They can talk to you more freely. So that reminded me of the title of a book that my second wife was reading. How to Talk to Your Children So They'll Listen, and How to Listen to Your Children So They'll Talk. I never read the book. I thought the title said it all. So that's what I did with the tree. I didn't sit there and think, how is a tree going to say something to me? I just listened to it. Then I found out that this person named Malidoma Some had written something about this. He is an African man who came into the Western world to try to share something or other about, he didn't call it shamanic thinking. He was talking about the practices of his people in the village in Africa. And he was initiated, you're ordinarily initiated in their spirituality when you're 13 or so. But he was going to a French school, learning all the stuff we learn in the European American way of thought. And so he didn't get initiated till he was 20. And one of the exercises they said he had to do was to go sit and watch a tree for as long as it takes. Fortunately, it only took me 30 seconds to get a message, but it took him a couple days just sitting there looking at this tree. And then this occurred to me again much later, just within the last few years. So all this I'm talking about is 25 years ago. But more recently, like last year, I think, I was sitting in the living room at our house, reading a book. Oh, no, I can't remember the name of the book. But it was talking about how to have a different relationship with nature. And I turned and I looked across the living room, out the back of the house, through the sunroom, and behind the house is a forest. There's one tree in particular that is framed by the arch of the sunroom, as if somebody actually designed the house that way. I didn't design it that way, somebody did. And so I thought, let's see if I can just look here at this and not categorize everything I'm seeing, not let my mind try to make sense of it. Like that's this kind of tree or that kind of a tree, or this is why this is happening, or none of that. Just treat the tree as if it is a living, conscious being, in a sense, and see if it had something to tell me. So I turn and look at this tree, and the tree said, you try to look at me as if I'm an individual, and I'm not. All of us in this woods are part of the same organism. And we love you. I could feel that love. And I could feel how wonderful it is that this late in my life, I live in a place like that. So that's what I try to do. I try once in a while when I remember, at least once a day. I hope more than that. So stop listening to the chatter in my head and listen, as one teacher said, to the space between the words. So that's my little story.
Oh, wow, that's so wonderful. And I love that because everybody can go and try that now. They can go and find a tree and practice that present, especially when things are getting scary around them. So now I'd like to welcome Miss Kana, who's going to be doing a sound healing for us.
Hello.
Hello.
That's a beautiful segue, Robert. Astra and I actually had a beautiful experience with a redwood tree when we visited Reverend Bill for the first time. I'm putting all these pieces together, and they sure do talk. And as far as trees, it's very grounding. And I think what's coming up for everybody, and I've worked with a lot of people, like 2 or 3 people throughout the day, and what I think everybody's working on right now, just if we come down to here in the now, and as humanity, we're really working on the right to exist and the right to need and have our needs met. And that is a birthright that we forget we have. So on that note, how do we anchor in our right to exist? Because everybody here's talking about love, and I agree with everything that everybody's saying. It really starts within, because with my clients, when they shift within, the world around them shifts. I've seen this time and time and time again. And as Dr. Kim was talking about self-realizations fellowship with Yogananda, I was at the convocation last summer, and I loved how the nun said, live in the golden age now. You are living in the golden age. When you live in the golden age, then it becomes that for everybody. It starts with you. So with that surrendering to love, the right to exist, the right to need, that is a birthright. It is fundamental. It is inside us, like Astra was saying. It's not outside, like Reverend Mill was saying. It's not that. It's all within. So how do we anchor in our right to exist, our right to need? We have to know we have the right to be here. It's unconscious. Sometimes we forget. If we're born and we don't feel like we have the right to exist, kind of hard to love ourselves. Right, when we're kind of going like this. And I also feel like what's really needed in this world is a mother's love, and I'm a mother. So with that, how do we bring in that right to exist? Really call in all parts of ourselves. Where we may have given our power away, in any time, space, dimension, and reality. Bring that into our hearts. Call them, I think Robert was talking about soul retrieval. Bring all those aspects of our souls back into our hearts, into our soul, and know that we have a right to exist. We have a right to need. We have a right to take up space and emit love, radiate that love, because we are love. I think I love the story with, looking at the trees, and they said, you were feeling love, Robert. I was feeling so much love when I went to India last year at an ashram, and all the saints said, remember this feeling, because there was so much love on the planet, and they said, this is the truth. What you see on the news and the TV is the illusion. Remember all the love that's on the planet. And I think someone was saying you get more of what you focus. Tune into the love, because the past 2 days, I've just been feeling God's presence, God's love. And I'm a sound healer, when you sing to God, God loves it. God's so elated, and we forget that God loves that. And there's so much love, and we have to tune in. So on that note, I would love to bring in the mother's love. Ooh. this love just fill the whole entire planet, transmuting everything that's not love back to love as we have these powerful healers here today. And I'm being guided to share that we don't need permission from someone outside of us to exist, to need, and to share and spread this love. We just radiate it because that's our true essence. We don't need permission from anyone to radiate and be this glorious love. God bless everybody. God bless our ancestors. God bless our future, past, present, and future, because everything is now, like Reverend Bill says. God bless, God bless, God bless. In love. So be it.
Thank you so much, Kana. That was so beautiful, and it felt so beautiful, feeling that beautiful mother's love, and everybody on the planet will receive that. And I just wanted to ask if anybody has any summarizing comments that they want to make before we wrap up the discussion for today. Anybody feel called to share anything based on what they've heard?
Well, I would just like to thank Connor for that sound healing that she does. She doesn't realize that the energy of healing is so well defined through that frequency. And I want to thank those people here that all come together today and share what they had. And thank you, Pontea, for putting this together for everybody. And I think if people, this is kind of like a box of chocolate here, sampler, right? You know, mine's got nuts in it, yours got something else, and somebody's creamy in the inside. If you like what you're listening to, come back and look for these various presenters today. We're on YouTube, podcasts, and all kinds of places. And I believe you've personally interviewed several of us individually. So when you're putting a description on this thing, I hope that you link some of the interviews that these people can find. It's been my honor and pleasure to be associated with this group. And I want to thank everybody for allowing me to participate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Bell. And yes, I would say that I'm so grateful for everyone being in the group. I'm actually going to bring in on the gallery view just so we can see everybody. So just want to say I'm so grateful for everybody taking your time to be here today for humanity. The reason that each of you were picked to be in this group is because I felt God tell me that you all serve the Grail, which is God. So you've all been dedicated for so many years to humanity, and it shows through your actions, your words, your embodiment, the generosity that you've shown me. So I just really wanted the world to hear your messages because it's made a huge difference in my life. And so hopefully we can do this again in a few months and to just keep supporting humanity. And so let's just, if it's okay, let's just close with a prayer for the world, if that's okay with everybody. So let's just close our eyes. So thank you, Mother, Father, God, for being here with us today in this circle. Thank you, angels and the seraphim and all of our guides and teachers for being here with us today. We ask that as we're gathered here today, feeling this presence, this love, this light so potently, that through us, through our embodiment, this energy go to all the hearts that are on the planet at this time, including the humans, the star seeds, the animals, the trees, the elemental beings, the mountains, the oceans, the rivers, the insects, everything in the earth beneath us, the volcanoes, and to all the locations where there is some challenges happening for humanity. May all of them be uplifted and brought into this frequency of love and light. And we ask for God's plan to be restored on earth as soon as possible for everybody. Thank you so much again for being here.